Good afternoon and welcome to DiscovrTV South Africa. Today we're chatting to an incredible artist. It is Rob Mclennan from No Friends of Harry. Hi, Rob.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very, very good, thanks. Good as can be.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to be featuring you on Talk Time with myself, happening every Thursday at 3 o'clock. Last week we had the fantastic Cindy Alter, and today I'm really excited to chat more about your journey through the music industry and your life up until now. It's been quite a journey, and I'm really excited to be sharing your story with your friends, family, and fans around the world. So how are you in isolation?
It's going as well as can be. You know, I mean, I think that I'm really lucky to be in an environment where, number one, I've got my studio here. Number two, it's like a really cool place to be locked up in. So I've been writing a lot of music, so it's pretty cool.
That is awesome. We'll talk more about what you're working on now and what you've been up to the last couple of years. But let's start off right at the beginning. So how old were you when you started No Friends of Harry?
I think actually the sort of the No Friends of Harry that everyone knows about, I think I was 24 at the time. And I'd been in a couple of other bands before that, sort of figuring out what a band was after learning to play guitar from when I was quite young and stuff like that. So I think that version, the version that everyone knows of No Friends of Harry, sort of, I think we got together in about 1985, 1986, which is when we sort of released our first album and when people got to know who we were and all of that sort of stuff. So a very, very, very long time ago.
So the mid-'80s is when the lineup as we know it started with No Friends. So the bands before that you got into before No Friends of Harry, care to share a quick story with us? So which bands did you join or which bands were you a part of right in the beginning before No Friends of Harry?
Well, it was more sort of a journey of, I started playing guitar at school. I borrowed my sister's acoustic guitar and strung it upside down because I'm left-handed eventually, and taught myself like the basics of chords and stuff like that. Then I started sort of playing with whoever I could. And that would have been the gardener at the time, and my sister who was doing piano lessons, and we did a couple of things like that, and then some friends at school, and then it all sort of really kicked off in a bigger way when I was studying graphic design at college, and I actually sort of got involved in a band with a guy called Mike Pinder and Ian Wiggins, who obviously everyone knows is in No Friends of Harry, was in a band with him, and they were best friends with Mark Williams, who became the manager of No Friends of Harry, and somehow it ended up with me going into that band, and Ian will be able to tell you the name of it later. I can't remember, Suburban Disturbance or something. Ian left and I got in there, and we then started. Yeah. I don't know how that happened, but we then started an embryonic version of No Friends of Harry. And then all of a sudden, the sort of conscription happened with a lot of the people who came from overseas. And the band we had at that particular time then migrated into the very first version of No Friends of Harry, which had Ian in it, who was in the army, or just pre-army, and a guy called Paul, and who was on bass, and Craig Binion, who was on drums, And we would look for a singer when Mike Pinder went overseas, and I was just a guitarist. And then I ended up finding out that that we couldn't find a vocalist who was really could do the stuff we were writing, or I was writing at the time. So it sort of went through a couple of versions of that, and me jamming with Ian at the time, and then Annette, who got bored watching us in the previous bands, decided to learn drumming. And Annette was my wife at the time. Got married very young, and in the band scene. And then we formed a band with her, and she got into a charity concert at some stage, and she was playing at Eastgate or Bedford Centre. And from her drum teacher that she was teaching, whatever, and I saw this like tall guy with a new romantic hairstyle across his eyes like that, and it was Dave. And so after that like gig where I think they were playing Stevie Wonder's Christmas songs or whatever as covers, we had a chat afterwards and a drink, and I was sort of super keen because actually he had a PA, which was really cool. And he could play bass.
It's all about what music equipment you had, and that's how you got into any band, it seems.
Yeah, it was a. When I say it was a proper garage band, we found a friend. We had a friend who lived down at bottom end of Bedford View near Galuli's farm, and he allowed us to use his actual garage right next to his family with 4 children. So, or his parents' family who had 4 children, and every night we used to go there and practice. But it was me, Dave, and Annette at that particular stage. Then Ian found out that he could actually, even though he was in the army, he used to sort of skip the fence and come to practices every night because he was based in Pretoria. So literally, that's sort of was around about, I think, the beginning of 1986, and that was the actual lineup that we had. So it was a sort of weird path that led us to where we were, and then it was locked down, and it was great. And then everyone's heard the stories about us playing off the back of a truck at the flea market, at the market flea market.
I would love to talk more about that truck gig to you, and more about No Friends of Harry. But maybe we should check out Long Way Home, one of your awesome videos, and then come back to that. I think there's so many interesting stories that you still need to share with us. So if we
that's actually our first song. So
brilliant. Let's check it out.
Watching you, babe, how does that may seem? Standing in the spotlight and they want to see you scream. If you want more, then you know they'll give you less. And if you say no, then yeah, sure they'll say yes, 'cause it's a long way back home. And it's a long way back home. see you sweat now. They can see you shake. They're watching you, babe, and they want to see you break. If you say black, then you know they'll say white. You get to the left and you stay on the right, but it's a long way back home. And it's a long way back home.
South African alternative rock band, of course, No Friends of Harry, and it's a long way home. Maybe.
What a trip. Wow.
Yeah.
So often watching that music video. I can't believe it. You know, the mid-'80s, and I guess what a time to be alive, and what a great time for South African music. And the fans were something else, really, really loyal and kind of following you around the country. And just, I'm sure so many people have so many. Please share those with us. And if you have any questions for Rob, please send them to me. So many great messages coming in on Facebook. Rob, listen up, Ian Parker. Hello, saying hello to my favorite people in the world. And Ernesto saying hello, Rob. Keith Buerta saying good afternoon. Hey, Keith. And our friend Tim Parr saying hello.
Hello, hello.
And Darren McGarrell saying No Friends for Harry, still the best alternative band of the 80s from South Africa, followed by Psycho Reptiles. Asias watching in from Cape Town, and Gavin saying legendary stuff. Alta saying hi, and also getting a couple of messages in from the Illustrated saying Mclennan, a living legend. I agree. Another one. Awesome to hear the history of No Friends of Harry, and that from Dumb and Drummer. And Karen, hello, saying haha, I drank with Dave DeVetta, the first of many, many, many. And all it took was a really cool hairstyle. That's awesome. Hello, Anne, and saying hello to you, Rob. And
hello.
Treats. And then a message in from Dumb and Drummer, which I'm going to read just after I do this, which I'm really excited about. Please, can we have Ian join the conversation today? Ian, are you there?
Ian.
Hello, Kerry Anne.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, very well, and you? How's it, Rob?
Hey.
It's really cool to have you both on the same interview. Ian, we're talking about isolation and the craziness and where it all started. So I'll start off the next with what me and Rob ended off with just before that music video, which was from Dumb and Drummer saying saw No Friends for the first time at Rocky Street Razzle in about 1988. It was on the back of the truck. Amazing introduction to goth music for me. Loved every second. Been a fan ever since. What a great message. If you have any special memories or a question for the guys, please drop them to us on the stream or on DiscovrTV South.
I remember that Rocky Street gig, yeah, and if you remember,
I think
it
very well.
Tear gas one, right?
Yeah, everybody got tear gassed, yeah.
Yeah, that was typical of that sort of time and era, because there was a lot of tear gas happening at the time. They just sort of, the cops waded in with tear gas, and we all ran in different directions. Sort of into the twilight down the roads and stuff like that. It was a champion gig. They used to block off Rocky Street, and there was a big sort of truck not a little flatbed, a massive truck where they had all of the bands playing, and I remember that quite well.
Awesome. So you played on the back of the truck, and it ended, interestingly, tear gas and running around town. Who else did you play with on that lineup? Do you remember? Tell us more about that gig.
One. I seem to remember we played up with the Genuines. Were there? Were they?
I think so. I mean, it was quite a weird thing at the time. Is there wasn't sort of like the tours. All of the gigs we were playing at the time were not necessarily with bands of the same genre by any means. So even when we were on the sort of the tours, we would be playing with Patricia Lewis and Mango Groove and the Helicopters and all sorts of things. So it was all of the bands of that particular era who'd be on any of those sort of big bills and stuff like that. Later on, we were with obviously the Reptiles and the Gathering and all of those type of bands quite a bit.
That is so cool. So you basically opened and played so many different launches back then. Tell us a bit about After No Friends of Harry. You've got the lineup, you've got Ian, you've got Dave, and you're rocking out at the Junction Decadence. Share some of those memories with us if you can.
That's a good one. I don't remember much about it.
I mean, that's probably that why Ian says that is it's probably a lost decade. I mean, we're living that
1980s are a bit hazy, Robert.
Yeah, I think so. But like, I mean, it was really interesting. There were places like just to go through them, Cramps Junction, Alcatraz, all of those where there was a really strong alternative following in town. We started at the Chelsea Underground, but sort of. A lot of those clubs we opened up and we started with, and obviously not the Chelsea, but I remember doing that at the Junction, and I think there was Cramps and a couple of others, but it was there was a really strong circuit. King of Clubs, Le Club obviously as well. There was a really nice sort of atmosphere because everyone sort of knew each other. Well, if you remember. What's that, Ian?
I said the Rosebank Hotel as well. Mustn't forget about that. Yeah, I think that was our first residency, wasn't it?
And I mean, and actually, if you, even they gave us the Thunderdome, which was a massive club, and we used to get a Wednesday night because they used to get no crowds there on a Wednesday. But like because there was such a big following for our bands, us and a whole bunch of others, you used to get these sort of crowds around the corner and at Junction and places like that.
We still very well remembered those gigs. I think they were sort of all hosted by Barney Simon, weren't they? And it was all the alternative, gothic, punk, those sort of bands that were playing in those days. Usually about 3 or 4 bands a night. Awesome.
Yeah, time. I mean, it sort of was. There was a sort of an upsurge in those sort of venues because initially the alternative clubs didn't have bands at all. And sort of once there was this new wave of acceptance and I think the record companies there was sort of the record companies found that there was a following for us and the clubs. So the clubs then started opening up to us to play inside of it. Whereas before that, if you went to an alternative or punk or skin place, it was generally just music being played from England. What was that first club where your car got stolen?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I've been trying to remember the name of the place.
But it was a place where you paid. I think you paid $20 to get in. You could have as much to drink as you like.
You paid $20 and you got a plastic cup
because glasses were dangerous. And
many times as you want.
And then so we eventually wheedled our way a gig into that place and like. That place used to go mental, but the second like they put us up on a stage, like everyone just slammed against the walls, and we completely like shat ourselves about playing there. And we played our set in about 15 minutes, even though it was about a 30-minute set. But afterwards, everyone came out and like whispered to us at the bar, it was really nice to see a live band, and that's sort of how the whole second wave of alternative music sort of took off to allow bands to play there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable taking a trip down memory lane and remembering all of those venues and the friends that you made. And I'm sure you're still friends with today. And getting this whole lineup together, it's incredible. So many great messages coming in and some awesome memories. If you have any that you'd like to share, or if you have any questions, drop them to me now. But let's check out another music video from No Friends of Harry, just to take you down that trip, memory lane. What a vibe. And music so magical. Yeah, share those memories with us. And we'll be back with Ian and with Rob from No Friends of Harry just after this next music video. Thank you so much for joining us.
Silence spreads its face across the room. Snuffing strands of sanity can't be heard across his tomb. Competition rules have stated no one needs to die. Just live quickly now, there's no need for a goodbye. And it's a raw deal for the small whales. It's a raw deal for the competition rules. The glare of hungry stares as you stand to fight the duel. A web of lies and small deceits they play without their rules. Your vision's fading quickly now as the panic begins to roar. Well, I just don't know, he said, and then was shown the door. Cause it's a raw deal for the small whales. It's a raw deal for the competition rules. And as the future of your life lies on the rocks below, you've just found out from someone that there's nowhere else to go. With bloodied hands and frenzied smiles, so we've got one on you. There's no second chance with the competition rules. And it's a raw deal for the small whales. It's a raw deal for the small whales. It's a raw deal for the small whales. It's a raw deal for the competition rules. As the wicked silence spreads its face across the room, snapping strands of sanity cut the heart across his tomb. Competition rules have stated no one needs to die. Just live quickly now, there's no need for a goodbye. And it's a raw deal for the small whales. It's a raw deal for the competition rules.
And I'm back. Competition Rules, No Friends of Harry, taking a trip into the 80s with you today on Talk Time. and so excited to be joined by two of the members today, Ian and Rob. Let's go to the stream line as well as to the Facebook line. I got a message in from Flame Drop Productions saying, "Hey Rob, living legend," and Karen saying, "All those guitars." I know there are guitars behind you, Rob. Guitars behind you, and I've got a bunch behind me as well. I'll move out of the way, except I just can't play them. That's the difference. But there's a whole bunch there, which I'm just addicted to, that I can't play them. Let's go back to the line. Nico Erasmus saying, "No Friends of Harry rocks. Amazing, great memories. Keep well, guys." And Steve Norton, "Hi, Rob and Ian from Niceness. Steve and Teresa, great memories, guys."
Hi, Steve. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, guys.
Got a message in from Monica Boshoff saying, "Rob's hair was majestic AF, though." Can we pick up one of those pictures of Rob from the No Friends days? I think we have one. Let's see. We'll wait for that one to pop up.
It's still majestic. It's still there.
It's still majestic, Monica. We'll wait for that picture to pop up. But wow, it's such a great picture. I think one of my favorites for sure. The illustrated saying, "Sea Point Civic Hall gig was so packed. Over the orchestra pitch in front of the stage gave way under the stomping fans. Nobody hurt. Hasn't been a gig there since."
I remember that so well. Yeah, you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of places that where we had building problems. The one was they allowed us to use this hall in Sea Point, and the floor, it was one of those wooden sprung gym floors that you used to get in gyms in schools and stuff like that. And there was a massive mosh pit, and actually they went straight through. I remember another time. I can't remember whether it was at the Purple Turtle or something, but it was upstairs.
Yeah.
And it sort of was so packed. But what started happening is with the guys moshing or jumping or pogoing, there was like sort of dust coming down from the ceilings, and then Paul came running up and like had to calm the crowd down. Paul Freebody,
yeah,
and he had to come upstairs and tell the people not to jump because they were worried it would come into the bar down below.
They were going to go straight through the ceiling, yeah.
But it was a bit indicative of the sort of clubs that we used to play, which were these awesome, tiny, like, well, relatively small, hold 300 people and ram 400 people in there.
Do you remember the one where we played at Yellow Level at UCT and we made the whole stage out of school desks tied together?
I know, and that was a couple of thousand people, and the stage moved backwards by 2 meters.
Yeah, just with the breast of the people. Yeah,
That's
it was. Shall we say a little disorganized? Not the world's greatest infrastructure or anything like that.
No,
it was very disorganized. In fact, to be absolutely honest, all those gigs we played in those days, we'd arrive at the gig and see that no, the sound system's not up to scratch, and we'd dash off and go and hire at our expense a decent sound system to put in there and bring some lights along, turn it into a decent gig, that sort of thing. Because there was nothing, there was no infrastructure, very little anyway. And most places we went, we ended up carrying those. Do you remember those gigantic speakers of Dave's we used to carry everywhere? That's why my back's so buggered today, I'm sure. Yeah, it's good times.
Those were magic times. And as you said, you tied tables together to make a stage. And that I think is the magic of it all, because bands really work their asses off to make gigs happen.
Oh, yeah.
Get their fans there, and the fans would do whatever it took to get to their favorite band's gig. And that kind of is the difference between now and what the scene was like then. You were getting tear gassed, you were tying desks together, you were making posters and flyers and flyering bridges and handing those flyers out and posters. I think it was just a completely different time then, which is insane.
Yeah, I think I mean it was because there was really no other way. I mean, I think, as I've said, showing my age is that, like, I mean, everyone has sort of Facebook and social media to advertise it. But we sort of loved the ethos that we were in complete control of what we were doing. So we used to make new T-shirts for every gig and silk screen them in the night and let them dry on the lawn, and do posters, and then do midnight runs with a combi with the door open and wallpaper glue, and stick them up underneath Saratoga Avenue in Hillbrow when we were all playing there. And there was a battle of posters between us and the Reptiles the whole time, but everything was done by ourselves. All of our records, by the way, apart from the third one, was the first time anyone actually had enough faith in us to actually record us in the studio. We did all of that stuff off our own back. But at the same time, it allowed us to go in and retain complete control of everything we did. So from the artwork of the albums to the recording to what gigs we chose and done, no one could tell us really what to do. And I think that sort of kept us in good stead. I mean, I think sometimes it was like cut off our noses to spite our face. But at the end of the day, it's like sort of the best way we could have done it after all of that, you know.
Also, Kerry Anne, you don't get the wrong impression. Don't for a minute imagine that we knew what we were doing or that there was a plan.
Exactly.
Because we didn't. But sometimes that works brilliantly because nobody told us that it couldn't be done. When everybody knew it couldn't be done. So we didn't know that, unfortunately. We were too stupid. So we just went out and did it anyway. And I think that attitude is what got us a very long way, in fact.
But I think maybe that's the way things should be done. Luck favors the brave. And so just go out there, rock as hard as you can. Who cares whether you remember it on the next day or in 10 years, or here we are 30 years later. You remember some things, and that's fine. For the rest, they're pictures, you know, and someone out there remembers something, and we glue them all together. And at the end of the day, you had an amazing time. You played together. You played phenomenal music that we're still listening to today. So you made such a huge mark on the music industry by kind of just flying by the seat of your pants and just going.
Yeah. That was it.
It was a lot of fun.
Tell me about it.
Here's another message in Dumb and Drummer saying, there's the picture now. Did you have a look at that picture? Wowza.
Where was that, Rob?
It was that photographer who became a really good friend of ours, I think, and his wife. We used to go around there. We took photographs for the second, I think the second album there.
Yeah, it was about that time. Goodness me, don't we look young?
Oh yes, yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm busy loading more pictures, which I've just got to load up for Dumb and Drummer, who's just asked a question now, and I think he'd love to see the picture that I'm getting loaded up now. So give me a
So
second.
that picture you're seeing now was we played the Randy's show a couple of times, and I think this was the second or third time we did it, but it was an awesome crowd, especially because we were playing amidst like a whole bunch of popular bands, but there were banners for us, and there's some classic shots which have gone down with guys with their heads to do that, and there was this massive little pogoing thing happening in front of the stage as well. It was a great gig, I think, and it was in daylight, which was unusual for us.
Were you wearing special herbs or?
This photo was done by Steve Norton, by the way, the guy who messaged a little bit earlier is down in Knysna, who's my best bud from school.
That's brilliant, man. Steve, thank you for taking that legendary picture. What a vibe.
This is our first time playing overseas at the sort of world-renowned marquee in London.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing up this picture, Rob, because I got a message in from Dumb and Drummer saying, how was the gig at Marquee Club in London? Was it as you dreamed it would be, given the history of that venue?
Well, to be honest with you, it was really, it was sort of, we were completely scared shitless, but it was one of those things that, again, Mark Williams, who was our manager and also our friend at the time from back from the college days, the art college days. He went over, and this must have been in about 1989,
I think.
1989, at the height of the bad days of apartheid in South Africa, and he went over there, and we just said to him, go and see what you can hustle there and in London, and set up as many gigs as possible. Plus, we had a posse who'd moved to London, really good friends of ours who'd moved over back there, and we stayed at their house, and he managed to, by bribing them with a couple of crates of beer, to get us on a bill at the Marquee. Not through the traditional ways, we would have got hoofed out straight away. And we ended up supporting a band called Love Hate, and I always sort of remember when we went in for a sound check there, and like everything is completely professional, and it's the first time we'd had a professional sort of sound check, and it was completely insane. But Love Hate went first, and everyone went up, and they were all incredible musicians, and we just absolutely shat ourselves, because the drummer went up and did a double bass drum sort of solo before we'd even started. The singer, instead of going 1 2, yeah, 1 2, he was like aye. He was like freaking Jimmy Page. I mean like Robert Plant. Sure. Oh, there you go. That is that was at one of the range shows then, and everyone used to pay, like, sort of everyone used to paint their own banners and provide us with sort of patches for their back, and we used to sort of print those things that you could stick on your leather jacket and make pins and all of that sort of stuff. So that's just a classic shot, fan shot.
I love that picture so much. It's so damn rock and roll. It's so cool. I also have another picture that I'd like to put up for Monica of your legendary hair, which is coming up in a sec. How cool!
Not my legendary hair. Was
Monica, there we go. Look at that.
Yes, yeah.
He was quite pretty in those days, wasn't he?
Well, I guess I did. That was probably our last photo shoot for the third album. Am I right, Ian?
Yeah, that was
about 94. You can see we were sort of allowed to. The facial hair was creeping in that picture a little bit. So it was probably after the days we went and we saw Faith No More and bands like that, and the sort of emphasis of the music was going to sort of a different sort of place, you know. Yeah,
that's right.
And by the way, this, talking about people making stuff, this was I think by some of our fans down in Cape Town, and they might be watching, but they used to make us jewelry and stuff like that as well. Wow. And I found this the other day, which is really, really cool. No Friends of Harry.
That is so damn cool. Well, that's what I'm talking about when I say that bands really got behind their fans, and the fans got behind the bands because they really did follow you around. They made you gifts, and that was their life, you know, queuing around the block to see you. These days, it's so much more difficult, and I'm not sure whether. I don't know what the real difference is, because we have venues now, we had venues then. Maybe there are a couple more bands now, I'm not sure, but sometimes people don't even want to pay 50 Rand to watch 5 or 10 bands on a lineup. Back then, people planned their whole week around a No Friends of Harry gig, you know, and then queued for an hour to get into the club and made those banners and those gifts for you. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it's sort of. I mean, there's a lot sort of really great bands out there who have got better songs and much better players than we are right now. I think it's all to do with accessibility. Is that music is so accessible now, and it's so easy to put up your own music at any particular time that it's fairly overwhelming. And also, people have got into the habit of not paying for music. In the old days, it was a treasure to go and buy a vinyl or a cassette or whatever, and then you'd open it up and you'd look at all of the things, and it was like something that you could like stick on your wall, and it had a gatefold and all of that sort of stuff. Now you just type it in into any platform you like, and you can hear any song you like for absolutely nothing. So the value of music has sort of been become a lot more accessible now. And as I said before, is in some ways it's a really good thing, and in some ways it's a really bad thing. So you're never going to get that sort of fanaticism around bands that,
also, as you're saying, Rob,
in the 70s and 80s.
There's just so much of everything around at the moment. When we were playing, I mean, they'd only just introduced TV, for goodness sake. The highlight of people's week was to go out and watch a drive-in movie. There was one channel of TV that was, and when something came on like a band playing, as you say, people used to plan everything around they're going to go on Saturday night and watch this band. And there's just so much to do nowadays. If you want a band, you just download the damn thing and watch it on the comfort of your home on the TV. That's why we were actually around just about at the perfect time for our type of music. I would hate to try to do it today.
Yeah, and I think the strength of it is that it was, at a time where it was from the ground up as opposed from the top down.
Well,
so
we were.
I think because we got a following, we got access to that, and people thought, shit, we better not ignore these people, and that goes for the other bands as well, like the Reptiles and et cetera, et cetera. But they couldn't ignore us, and that's why we got the record deals. And I don't think there's a massive understanding for what we were doing, because it wasn't the traditional way of doing stuff. But it allowed us to sort of make a sort of something that was different from the norm and the normal way of doing things, even with record companies. We had like at all of our launches of our three main albums, we had Mnet and SABC there covering it live on television. You tell me, of all the artists that you work with and that how many of them would ever get that? And I mean, now it's on social media, but like that's along with another 150,000 people doing it at exactly the same time. So we were super lucky. And I mean, we had what did we have? Pop Shop. What was Alex J on? What was that? Was it Pop Shop?
There was Pop Shop, and there was a number of them that sort of one after the other.
The only place you could literally see South African artists ever was on a show, No Jacket Required or something. It was completely mental. So the environment was like completely different.
Wow, what a trip. Thank you so much for checking us out and for streaming Talk Time with myself, Kerry Anne, and the members of No Friends of Harry. Let's check if we've got another music video to check out from No Friends of Harry, and then we'll be back to talk more memories.
Time quickly turn away, like a newborn baby. It just happens every day. I look inside myself and see my heart is black. I see my rector and I want it painted black. Maybe then I'll fade away and not have to face the facts. It's not easy facing up what your whole world is like.
a deeper gloom. I could not foresee this thing happening to you. If I look hard enough into the setting sun, my love will laugh with me before the morning comes. I see a red door and I want to paint it black. No colors anymore, I want them to turn black. I see the girls walk by dressed in their summer clothes. I have to turn my head until my darkness grows.
That was so cool to see No Friends with Harry doing their rendition of Paint It Black. Let's go to the messages again. Jacques Strick saying best cover. Jacques, I absolutely agree. And let's check out more messages here. Got a message in from Andy Overbeek saying, hey Rob, great stuff. Jerome Overmeyer watching. Thanks, Jerome. And Linda Gaushan saying, wasn't there also tear gas at a Cape Town show? You guys remember that?
Yes, absolutely.
Good Hope Centre. Yeah.
It
That's
was
right.
at Barney Simon's Flying Circus, and we were in the middle of our set, and someone dropped a tear gas thing, nearly causing a riot, but it was a massively good gig anyway.
I'm sure it was. Clark sending in another memory saying, first band I saw live ever, 89 or so in Durban with the Mystery Girls. Epic night. Rob, I know how much you love Mystery Girls. Guys, remember that night?
Yeah, completely. We used to play with Devo. We had sort of families down in Cape Town and Durban, and there was a whole crew in Durban that we used to go and stay with when we went down and played there. And Devo is one of my best mates. He's in the Mystery Girls, and it was fantastic playing down there and in Cape Town. I mean, people thought we were coming from New York. In those days, it was a very far way to go to play gigs. These days, it's ridiculously close.
Yeah.
Francois Faris saying, I idolized you guys in the late 80s and early 90s. Your music never ages. Francois, I absolutely agree. What a great memory to get in.
Thank you very much.
Gavin saying, saw you guys for the first time at the Sea Point Civic Hall. Electric Petals and the Get Out were support. Wowzers, Gavin, that's so cool. And Gavin saying, then again at the Playground, awesome memories.
Yeah, Playground, massively good.
For some reason,
I
was going to say the same thing, yeah.
Well, we used to do Coastal Tour and end up playing New Year's at whatever club Paul had at the time, and there was Subjects and Playground and all of that, those legendary clubs, and we never remembered the third set ever.
Yeah. Did we ever play a third set, Rob?
Not that I remember.
Yeah. I'm told we did.
Got a message in from Clive Lacey saying, what would they regard as their biggest hit or the one that got them out there? And of course, for me, it's always, I guess, time and competition rules. But what do you guys think? What was that one song that kind of just...
I think it was, it probably had to be Long Way Home, really. Competition rules,
I think, yeah.
Competition Rules was very close thereafter, but Long Way Home was, we recorded that first album really quickly in a recording studio. There was an advertising recording studio over 3 nights. I recorded and mixed it. And we were finishing off Long Way Home, which we'd been struggling a little bit with to finish. And we did it literally almost in the studio, but it also happened to be the first video we did as well. But the whole thing was actually championed by Barney seeing us on the back of a flatbed truck at the market, and then asking for us to phone in, and then we sold cassettes. But Long Way Home, I think, was the first thing that went to the top of Barney's alternative charts, and then Competition Rules actually went to #1 on the 5FM charts. So then we hit the big time, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. Guy, thank you so much for that question. Leanne Parker watching. Hey, Leanne. Jade, hello. Linda, Teresha, thank you so much for joining us on Talk Time on Discover TV South Africa. Michael de Villiers watching. Charlene McKenzie too. Mark Barkley. Mark Vass. You'll never walk alone. Thank you for
Hey,
watching.
Mark. King of the Jack Daniels bottle.
Another cool memory, and one of those friends that I guess has just come such a long way with you, and that you've shared so much with. So that's very, very cool that you're watching. Thank you, Mark. Another phenomenal artist watching with us now, Greg Allen from Medicine Dolls. And Greg saying, ridiculously inspirational. Love you guys. So that's very cool.
Thank you very much for saying so.
Greg.
Got a message in from Gary Whitman saying, so good to hear all the memories. Was listening to the latest MOMO CD yesterday. Totally blown away. It's seriously good. Gary, we're going to chat a bit about MOMO later on. And thank you so much for sharing that awesome message. And Mark Williams saying, hey guys, looking good. We made the alternative epoch in SA happen. All those early bands did. Competition rules. We also worked our butts off organizing things, making mistakes, learning hard lessons, blew up combis and vans, all of us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
we won't talk about that, will we?
I think we should.
We won't mention how it took us 4.5 days to drive down to Cape Town in that van of yours either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. James Green saying, in Plet, when the place got trashed, you played with the Get Out.
Oh.
I love that. I love that gig. It was so amazing. It was like we used to do this tour. We did it with the Get Out from East London all the way down, stopping at various particular places. And this hotel in Plet had an outside thing with a pool, with a hotel with a roof on it. And we ended up playing. We had a borrowed PA, and what happened is it was in the afternoon, and it was sort of like almost like a stopgap to get to the next place we were going to. But like, it got so manic that there were people on the roof, and it was a hot Saturday afternoon, and it went completely mental, and people kept jumping from the grass into the pool. So the pool ended up like a mud bath. And then the grass was non-existent at this stage. It was a mud pool in front of us, and the PA that we were borrowing, it got splashed mud all over it, went completely mental. And then we, I think, got fairly trashed and invited everyone down to a beach party because we didn't have anywhere to stay. We were sleeping on the beach there, and we invited them all to come down to the beach, and everyone did, and we ended up sort of sleeping on the beach, which is much more romantic than it sounds. And Dave ended up getting kicked out of the parking lot for sleeping underneath the van.
Yeah, that's. I just have to say, I was just thinking of Dave under the van. I forgot what I was going to say. Now, carry on.
Okay. Anyway, it was an epic gig, and I loved it because it was like. It was the people went so completely mental coming into that place, and I just remember looking up and seeing all these people sitting on the roof, and the rest of them just diving in the pool the whole time and coming out full of mud. They had to call the fire truck in the next day to pump out the water from the pool, but the hotel guy was cool with it. So
that's what I was going to say. They took it in such good part. I've still got a photo of it.
There was a sign that said pool closed due to excessive partying.
Yes, that is so rock and roll. That is amazing.
And it's for real. We've got a picture of it somewhere.
I've got a photo of it.
Ian, you've got to send us that picture when you find it.
I will do so.
The Illustrated saying, wasn't I lose faith about the lousy customs experience upon arriving at Heathrow?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was actually. It was largely around bureaucracy, and that was like one of the worst things on it, due to how you look and how you get treated when you sort of don't conform to anything. It's just like
Rob, you were traveling.
I had a torrid time there where they tasted makeup, went through the seams on clothing and locked us up in a room for 3 hours and stuff like that. But it was more to do with the bigger picture of that, yeah.
Diamond Drum is saying, when you were inspired for a new song, was it a guitar riff first from Rob or Ian, or did you guys start with improv while at band practice?
All of the above.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say all of the above. Is like sometimes it would be a riff, and then we would. I mean, generally the process was really democratic. Once we were in the band room, someone would come up with a little idea, and we'd expand on it from there. Lyric-wise, it was generally about like a couple of times. I mean, I can remember a couple of times just writing the words down first, and then we'd go and maybe even find a riff that we particularly like to fit it to it. And sometimes the melody came first. I mean, if I think about things like True in a Way, there were two ways we could sing it, but I had the lyrics before we did the music. But it's still something that like we get asked a lot, but I think it goes both ways. Sometimes one leads the other.
Cool. Thank you so much for that question. If you have any memories or questions you'd like to share with us, please send them in to me now. And again, thank you so much for joining us on DiscovrTV South Africa. I'm Kerry Anne, joined by No Friends of Harry from the 80s, taking a trip down memory lane. Got a message in from Kieran saying gruesome Gresham and Pop Shop.
It was actually Pop Shop was it, but I think it was Alex J that we were always on his program.
That's very Jay and Barney Simon and those guys really did so much for music back then in the 80s.
Absolutely.
So many fans watching from all over the world. It's just such a trip sharing this afternoon with you and your fans and your family that have become your family through the years. It's time to say goodbye to Ian, but before we do that, Ian, will you please share one of your favorite No Friends of Harry memories with us? I know they're hard to remember.
Oh, goodness me. I think perhaps my favorite gig of all time was that gig we played at Yellow Level at UCT. It was mostly because it was really, I mean, it was a nice gig and everything, but nothing in the build-up to it made us think that anything it was going to be particularly special. But I don't know what it was, but we did our sound check, and then we all shot back to the room that we were all bunking down in, and got changed and came back. And when we came back, we couldn't get near the place. There was a queue about, honestly, 10 deep, and it just snagged all the way down those stairs at UCT and off of what people waiting to get in to see us. And that whole gig, I mean, you couldn't do wrong from then on. And we hardly had to play. We were just carried by the audience completely. I find that, I think that is probably my favorite gig. I mean, we had a lot of other really great ones, but that one somehow sticks in my mind.
That's cool. And if you want to send some love or a message in to Ian, do so now. We've only got him for another 5 minutes or so. Ian, for you, what is your, and this is a very difficult one, I know, because songs become like your babies, really, and you care so much for them, and maybe you prefer one this week and another the next week, or it kind of changes as time goes by. But what is your favorite No Friends of Harry song?
Well, I will put my vote in for one song that never ever seems to get played anywhere, and that was a very, very late song of ours called Taking a Trip. I've just got something about that song. I really love that.
That's so cool. Taking a Trip, Ian's favorite song from No Friends of Harry, and that UCT gig, his favorite. It's been amazing hanging out with you, Ian. Where are you now? Where are you situated, and what are you up to before you go?
Well, I'm long retired from the music business, unlike Rob, who's still keeping his hand in there. I do still play with friends. We jam and get together once in a while to play. And then, as you know, on occasion, I'll get a phone call from Rob. Hey, guess what? They want us to play a concert somewhere or other. And that is always a pleasure. But other than that, I'm now the whole music industry, music scene is behind me. Just absolutely awesome memories, and I wouldn't have changed any of it for anything. It was just fantastic.
Awesome, Ian. Anyone you'd like to send a shout out before you go?
Well, just about everybody, all my friends. I would never be able to remember anybody who's phoned in, but everybody who's phoned in, everybody who's listening. Great to hear from you guys.
Ian, you rock. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. And so I'm going to dedicate this next song to you. Ian, have a lovely afternoon and stay safe. Lots of love.
All right. Bye-bye.
An empty pocket could be construed as a reason for concern. Just think of it as a brand new way to learn. And leave a lot of what you really want to really leave behind. And send yourself to find out what you'd like to find. Empty pockets, no keys and less than 10 possessions. And a year without a job. And 1 year open to get. Rule 1, security is a prisoner of freedom. And boredom is just another word for nothing else to do. Saving for a rainy day. And keep trading till you spend it. Or you find some time to waste it away. Running out the back door. You hear somebody shouting that it's time to spend some time home today. Life keeps floating away, oh baby. And that freedom will take you away. Life means having a say, oh baby. And that freedom will take you away. Just take it away. Leave the cage, don't try to find a reason for the blind. Just remember that it's only you who know. We know that spending money is the root of having fun. And remember to forget what you spend it on. Judge just said one day that there's a price to pay for freedom. Just take a trip to somewhere else or leave the rest behind. And as you go, remember that you live for no one else. Because boredom is only broken by a break in history. Saving for a rainy day. And keep trading till you spend it. Or you find some time to waste it away. Running out the back door. You hear somebody shouting that it's time to spend some time home today. Life keeps floating away, oh baby. And that freedom will take you away. Life means having a say, oh baby. And that freedom will take you away. Just take it away, just take it away, just take it away. Saving for a rainy day. And keep waiting till you spend it. Or you find some time to waste it away. Running out the back door. You hear somebody shouting that it's time to spend some time home today. Yeah. Life keeps floating away, oh baby. And that freedom will take you away. Life means having a say, oh baby. And that freedom will take you away. Just life keeps floating away, oh baby. And that freedom.
I actually love that video.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's
I'm
great.
so glad that we get to watch all of this footage again during this interview, and that you're able to share it with all of your fans and family around the world is just so super cool.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's seen it for 30 odd years.
Unbelievable. It's so great. Got a message in saying, cheers, Ian. Nicest guy in SA Rock. Very cool message. And another one in saying, cheers, Ian. Got a message in from Gavin saying, will you ever make One Came Running available on CD, Rob?
One Came Running.
Uh-huh.
It's actually, we're going to be releasing all of at least the first two on vinyl this year. So One Came Running and Into the Valley. And we're doing that through Just Music with Matthew Fink. It's sort of been pushed out a little bit because of the situation we all find ourselves in right now. But absolutely, and you should be able to get it, like, I don't know, maybe August, September. And absolutely, you'll be able to get it from them in all formats, and it'll be available electronically as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that question, Gavin. And another question saying, how did you guys get to collaborate with Wayne Hussey from The Mission?
It was actually through Adrian Skiro. We were putting out an album at the time, and it was sort of our final album when we knew Dave was going overseas. So we thought we'd record an album, and that was in about 98, I think. But we, as usual, we tried to do it in a very different way. So instead of just trawling our old albums and doing that, we sort of recorded ourselves while we were on the road. And we chose a couple of songs from that. So we did acoustic versions of Got a Dammering, which is one of our heavier songs. And we had a couple of live tracks that we did. And we did some even in the studio with Barney. And then what we did is we gave him a couple of tracks off. We gave Wayne via Adrian. And we'd met Wayne before when he'd been out in South Africa. And obviously we were sort of like-minded. He was, we loved The Mission back in the day, and he loved what we were doing. And then we gave him two of our tracks, and he did remixes of it, and it went onto that final album.
That's very cool.
And we drank wine together with him. That's what we did.
Are you talking about me now?
No, that's tequila.
Do you remember that crazy tour when Wayne Hussey came back a couple of years ago, and I was DJing and emceeing that tour, and things just went to pieces. You and I wanted to go and party in Cape Town, and then we made the hotel make us burgers at 3 a.m.
Yeah. That was very recently on a tour of No Friends of Harry down in Cape Town. Yeah.
Oh, that was so cool. Such great memories, and what an awesome band. It's always great to see Ian and Dave.
Unfortunately, Dave would have loved to be with us, but he's in Edinburgh, and he's actually on a blooming in a workshop on a conference call. I couldn't think of anything worse. So he was very bleak. He couldn't be with us. I'd also like to just give a shout out to Paul Blom, who's doing a documentary on a couple of bands. And if you look up Paul Blom, who you know from Terminatrix, and he's got a site on Facebook called Alternatives, and he's actually probably the first person who's going to be trying to document this particular era that was very badly documented, as you can see by the quality of the videos that you've been seeing and that sort of stuff. But big ups to him for actually trying to do it. Sorry?
I think we may have the teaser for that documentary that Paul's been working on.
Yes, and you'll find it online as well if you want.
Brilliant. That would be really great to see a documentary just from the music and the band from that era. If we do have it, it'll pop up, and then we'll chat again afterwards. The Paul Blom documentary teaser 1, hopefully. Yes, please play that for us.
I think what No Friends of Harry did was it showed South African bands of the time that it is possible to have your own release and actually, you know, make a living from music. Because before that, you know, apart from maybe the full frame movement, alternative music didn't have, you know, it was only listened to in clubs. And I think what No Friends of Harry did was they showed that it is possible to have a following and make alternative music in South Africa, and you know, make this type of music and make a living of it.
As you roam, there's a feeling of an ache in your chest and your head as you're stumbling on down through the underground. Oh, take me through to the underground. Then you feel a thorns clinging at your clothes and clutching at your face as your vision is blurred by the underground. Take me to the underground. Then you sense that you're running out of breath and your heart beats a beat as you're running on down through the underground. Oh, take me through to the underground.
Ooh, I can't wait. I'm so amped to watch that. Paul Blom, another amazing legend. And thank you so much for putting that together. It can't be easy
Fantastic.
because, as we said, the footage is so bad from back then. But that kind of just gave me goosebumps. And I cannot wait to be able to watch that documentary. I think it's going to be killer.
Yeah, excellent. And he's been spending a lot of time interviewing various key people from that period of time. And yeah, it's going to be fantastic, I think. Yeah.
Documentaries are really so important to pay tribute to and to celebrate artists and legends like yourself, Rob. The James Phillips story, even the Rodriguez documentary that was made, Radio Rats, the great one,
Yeah.
Driving and Dying. These documentaries are just so important. So a huge shout out to Paul for putting all of this together, and I really can't wait to watch it. So we've discussed No Friends of Harry, and we've almost run out of time, and it feels like we've been chatting for 10 minutes and not an hour and 10 minutes. So just quickly, Rob, some people are just really good at everything that they do. Whatever they set their minds to, they just exceed at. And you're one of those people. You've just done so much magic work in film and as a creative director and with various advertising agencies. Let's touch on that part of your life, if we can.
I mean, much as Theo thought we made money out of it, we didn't really. But I think just from when I was, I mean, no one knows what they want to do when they want to get out of school. But like, I fell into two sort of avenues, and the one was art. I did fine art at Wits, and then at the same time, I was forming the band and playing in various bands. I got to a stage at some time where I knew that like one was going to make me a living, and the other one was going to be my love, and you know, something that I wouldn't compromise on. And I think luckily in my music sort of career or my music life, we haven't had to compromise. We haven't had to rely on playing, you know, covers in a small pub or something like that, but what's allowed us to do that, or what's allowed me to do that, and actually Dave and Jan as well, is we all had so-called day jobs. My day job was as a creative director in an advertising agency, and it draws a hell of a lot on the same creative sort of mind space that you do, whether it's art or whether you're making a film, whether you're doing music or whatever. It all comes from the same place. I've luckily had a life that's been filled with sort of creativity that I can use to sort of not get irritated by having to do a mundane day-to-day job and stuff like that. So I've been living my best life, really. But yeah, I mean, I think grumpiness makes you write good songs as well. So it's probably just ingrained in me, that part of me, you know.
That's hilarious. Yeah, you have been really lucky to have done so many different jobs that kind of feed off and grow from your creativity as an artist in whatever field you've been involved in. And I think it's so tricky for so many out there that weren't able to make that happen for themselves. You know, it's not easy to be able to be in a band and to make music and to be successful at a day job, as you said. So well done to you for that. And then you were in a band called Doris. Let's touch on that for a sec.
Yeah, I think there was a patch after 98 very quickly where when we broke up as No Friends of Harry, where I started wondering, you know, where it would go. And Theo Knaus actually convinced me to start working on a like a solo album that was different from No Friends of Harry. And we did that for a while, and then I sort of started writing again, and it was at the beginning of the time when you can record digitally. So I started putting some stuff down, and then I put a band together, which was called Rob Mclennan and the Doris Club Crew, because I live in Doris Street, and we call it Club Doris because like everyone comes there and drinks and plays and whatever. And so I did some solo stuff, and then we sort of created this band Doris, which was myself, Aaron Brooks on drums, and Nick Nesbitt of Frown fame and Glass Swan and various other things. He's my nephew, and we're really close. We've been writing a lot together. And Alistair Matthew on bass, who we'd known for a long time, and he was in Zen Arcade and things like that. And we wrote this amazing stuff, but we came up with this concept of trying to do like a sort of a very sorry, let me just turn that off.
Who's calling you?
And what you know, it was we had this idea of creating really melodic stuff that was about really terrible things. So like Simon and Garfunkel mixed with the Pixies, and we sort of challenged ourselves. I challenged myself to sing quite high. It's normally I sing in a baritone, and Nick, which sounds like he comes out of the Drakensberg Boys Choir, and got him to sing lower. And we did this, but it worked really well. We came up with this amazing a whole bunch of songs and a sort of semi-album and all of that. We've still got all the recordings, and they just need to be mastered and stuff like that. It was fantastic. And it was straight after that when I think Alistair went up to Nigeria as bassist, Alistair, and then we formed, pretty much after that, we formed MOMO.
And we just did the launch of the new album. I say we. You just did the launch of the MOMO debut album. And the music is great. Got a message in earlier on from Gary saying that he listened to the CD just yesterday. And the material is just so cool, and some of it's so deep, and some of it's so meaningful. And I was going to go into song by song, which I'm not going to do now. I thought I was, but I'm not. I'm really excited to play the music video for the first single from the MOMO album that you've just kind of released. And I think we should do that now, Rob. What do you think?
We can do that. The first track, and then chat about the band.
Brilliant.
time has come to make a stand or flee for somewhere else. And time again, you think of it and dream that it might come true. But it never does, and it never will, because you tried like you never have before. You gotta carry on, you gotta carry on, because it'll happen this time just for you. The life you know, it always will, not just like the way you want it to. But remember that it's driven just by you, and everything else is conjured up by you.
Hooray!
Thank
First
you.
single off the album Dark City from Rob's new band MOMO. A big shout outs to Ian for chatting to us earlier, and to Dave, of course, and Annette, and Oresty and Andrew from MOMO. What a great band, what an awesome album, and what a beautiful video. So tell us a bit about MOMO.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, I mean, it's myself and Andrew Cleland and Rusty Stanley. They're old geezers like I am, and we've hung out and jammed many times over the years, and they've been bands like Zen Arcade and Carols and Simple English, and there's a whole bunch of it. But at a couple of the Club Doris's, we used to get together and jam, and it sounded good. But we were at a concert by the Beat, and it was above Hooters in the far west there. I can't remember that place. It's got a parking lot outside, but there was a club upstairs. I think it was Tans at the time.
All right.
And the English Beat were playing there, and we were a bit drunk, and we decided to write this sort of we're called to make a 3-piece that makes really dark rock, swampy, hard stuff coming from our stuff, and then we ended up like having a jam or two, and we called it MOMO. MOMO was a term, means idiot. If you watch any, I think if you watch Casino,
it was Casino, the mafia.
It was Casino, and it was in Johnny Blue Eyes as well, or something. But like whenever the gangster like calls someone else a MOMO, it means idiot. So we sort of wanted to keep it stripped down, guitar in 2 settings, and create these songs. And it turns out we write like really quick and really well together, and probably because like they're genius musicians, and they work really well together. But we've also known each other so long, so it's like easy to keep it real. But a lot of the songs ended up being, and the reason why it's called Dark City is because it ended up being songs about Joburg back then and now. It's a theme that runs through, like, looking back on my lyrics, a lot of it comes just unconsciously, but a lot of it's been about that, because I think living and being born in Joburg, like, I love that's the city like no other, and it's a really hard city to live in. At the same time, it's the most rewarding, because it's a place where all the art comes, all the great music comes from. Anything that's going to happen really happens there, like in Joburg. And I'm lucky enough to have a house which just overlooks the skyline, like the New York skyline. And these songs came out, which is like that came out, and they have that spirit in them, which is sort of that hard, uncompromising. You need to be resilient if you come from Joburg, or South Africa for that reason. But I think Joburg is known as the hard place, or the runt of the family. I mean, everyone wants to live in Cape Town. No one wants to live really in Joburg, but I wouldn't want to live in any other place in Joburg. And Doris and MOMO, we created these songs actually over a good couple of years. And I'm super, super proud of the recording. I know we all are, and we worked really hard on it. In fact, I think it took almost 2 years to complete recording them, and we've tried many times before. It's probably because we're all such like picky assholes, but it was like it's been amazing, because I think out of all of the albums I've been on, this is the production on this. We try to capture it sort of live, but when you do that normally, it just sounds like a piece of shit. And now this way, it sounds exactly how we wanted to sound it, but the production is amazing. And yeah, I think, you know, we've got to tip our hats to the dude Justin Bernardo, who sort of patiently put up with our demands over many, many times and many years, and brought his expertise to it, and really, really helped us bring it all together, because we all sort of chiefs of the pie and that sort of thing. But it's I'm super, super proud of this album, and I think it's like it almost tells a story in its own right, you know.
I think it does tell a story. I think it tells a story of your life and your experience and your journey in the music industry, as well as you said, growing up and choosing to spend your life in Johannesburg. What a city, what a country.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And of course, a big shout out to Justin, who, gosh, I just remember being around for just such a long time, and always just being one of the nicest guys in the music industry, from when I was doing gigs at the Baseline in Melville and the Roxy, and geez, those days are crazy. Doors, Alcatraz, so many different memories going way back, and people that we've been on the journey with, kind of, and you more so than me even. But Justin,
yeah, absolutely. Because I'm an old bastard, but you know, he brought over a lot of his experience. He lived over in the UK for about 10 years, and he brought a lot of that back. And he's sort of he managed to capture something that for 30 years I haven't been able to capture. So I'm super chuffed about that.
I think it's different if you're the one creating the music and you're the one making the music. It makes it harder, I guess, to be the producer and to wear all of the different hats, as opposed to telling the story and making the music and then handing it over, because maybe you're a little too close to it, or it just becomes, I think, a little too difficult to do. So I think you've done an amazing job with every album you've made, and it's managed to capture that moment in time and the flavor and the genre and whatever, even though you've never really veered too far away from dark rock or goth music. I think this one has a very special sound to it, and I know that it means a lot to you. We're way over time.
Yes.
Yeah. And I could be here until tomorrow. But if you do want to send Rob a message or a question, please do so now. We've got to say goodbye in the next, let's push it to 10 minutes. But Rob, tell us just quickly about your brewery, because that's a whole other ball game and a whole other story. And I remember a couple of years ago we were talking and you were quite excited to make your own tequila, and then the next minute you had a brewery. And again, in true Rob Mclennan style, not just any brewery, but a brewery that's won awards and awards and awards. And it's just a beautiful brewery in Dulstrom. Tell us a bit about Anvil and what you're doing with the Anvil right now, particularly in isolation.
Yes. And thanks for that opportunity. I was going to force it in as well. That's fantastic. So I think literally, almost just over a year ago, I, along with a lot of family and friends, we bought a brewery at my instigation in Dulstrom, at a microbrewery, a craft brewery. I'd come to know the previous owner and brewmaster quite well over the 7 years. I've got a little wooden house in Dulstrom, and he was selling it because he has arthritis in his hands and he couldn't do it anymore, and he was going to retire down in Leisner. And then what happened is it's this amazing looking sort of Provençal type of outside restaurant-y microbrewery with the brewery inside and all of this. Fantastic. And we've had an amazing time putting it together because although I'm learning, I'm obviously a crap brewmaster. But we're bringing it to Joburg, and that's it that you can see on the screen there. It's called Anvil, and it's the Anvil brew house in Dulstrom. All of it's created there. It's won major awards, especially for our IPAs and a variety of others. But it's won 2016, 27, and 29 in the international beer competition in London. So we've got massive credits, but no one knows of it outside of Dulstrom, because we only produce around about 3,000 and now 7,000 litres a month. But obviously with the whole coronavirus and COVID-19 and stuff like that, we find ourselves in a predicament that, like a lot of our clubs and our pubs that we go to and all of the places that sell alcohol and restaurants are closed down. So what we're doing is we were in the process of bringing it to Joburg, and we were just starting to do that. But now what we want to do to sort of make us survive this lockdown for a couple more days, hopefully just 8 more days. And we're hoping that we can deliver beer there in 8 days' time, even if it's just to your home, to your door. So what we have is 8,500 bottles of beer, which are now down to about 7,900, 7,800 because people have been buying. But what you do is you order online, and you just need to look up Anvil Brewery online, and you'll find the site. And you order, and then what we're going to do is we're going to fill up our bakkie and our trailer and our van, and the morning after the lockdown is ended and we're able to deliver, we'll deliver that beer to you to your front door. And I know there are a lot of people who really want to take advantage of that. Those people who are brewing their own pineapple beer as we speak. This will make your life a little bit easier, or pineapple mampur, or whatever it is. So it'd be really nice for us all. And if you could go and have a look at the site, and you'll see the process of what to do for that. But save our little Anvil brew house, and definitely when you're there in Dahlstrom, pop in for a visit. It's amazing. Both MOMO and No Friends of Harry played there in November, and we're going to have more gigs. We're going to have more gigs out there, and Kerry Anne, you were there actually, so yeah.
I was there, but I had so much of that Anvil beer and the tequila that I may not. I'm like Ian in the 80s. I don't. I'm kidding.
And the intention is as well is that, like, I mean, it all started off with a dream to create our own tequila brand, and we still intend to do that because we have the licensing and the facilities to do that. And it'll entail a trip to Mexico, which had to get pushed out a little bit, to go to Jalisco, which is where they make Blue Agave, which is where we want to go and test all of the tequilas, and then bring it back here and make a tequila called Bare Knuckle.
Oh, sounds delicious. Sounds absolutely amazing. Go and check out more on Anvil on Facebook. Go to the website. You're able to book your beer to get delivered to you the day after lockdown. So chat to Chris, drop him a line, and you can kind of make up your own case as you go along as well. So it's very exciting stuff. Go and support Rob and his brewery, The Anvil, on social media. It's also posted rather on his page. We're so far.
Massive thanks for that punt, by the way. Massive thanks.
Well, it is delicious. And artists are streaming. They're asking for donations for their interviews. So there's a Busqr code on the top corner if you'd like to donate to Rob, to his brewery, or to any of the musicians that are in Rob's bands. You may do so with that Busqr code, or just go and buy yourself a case of beer. It's delicious, award-winning. And it's been amazing chatting to you, Rob, about your advertising career, about starting off with No Friends of Harry, and your journey to MOMO thus far, with Dark City being the latest release. So many messages coming in, loving the sounds of MOMO. Thank you so much for that. DiscovrTV says, we're coming with you to make that good news.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes. Fantastic.
We have a couple of questions which I'm going to try and sneak in, and Jules may cut me off because I'm already so far over time. Darren McGarrell, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. And yes, there are some really, really incredible artists that I've booked for the next couple of weeks, so please keep on checking out our pages. 10 Yards says, MOMO sounds incredible, but I'd expect nothing less from an elder rock and roll statesman like Rob. What a great name.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
Thank you so much for your message. And then Kharat says, on Rob's black Gibson guitar scratch plate, there's an inscription. What is the inscription, and what is the story behind that inscription, Rob?
Well, it's that guitar there, and I'll have to go and read it quickly. Because it says, first love, best friend, I declare, Tao. And the reason that inscription is on it is like, I got that guitar. I'm left-handed, as you can see, all those guitars are left-handed. But I got that guitar in a pawn shop, and it was someone saw it from the Genuines, band The Genuines, and they told me to go and look at it, and they would have got it themselves, but it was left-handed. And I went there and I bought this thing, and it was for 1,000 rand. That guitar is worth almost 100,000 rand, if not more. And it had that inscription on it. And I went into the pawn shop, and the guy there said that this woman had brought it in who'd bought it for her boyfriend, but had subsequently broken up with her. And I ended up with that guitar at a very cheap price because of a breaker with someone called Tao, T-A-U, Tao. And that's what the inscription was on that thing. I've kept it ever since.
That's amazing. What a great story. Rob, just before you go, we've spoken about the Genuines and the Mystery Girls and kind of the music industry around the 80s. If you could name 2 or 3 of your favorite bands from the 80s and early 90s that you loved playing with, from the Reptiles, of course, to the Mystery Girls, to the Genuines.
Gathering.
The Gathering, yeah.
Yeah, all of those sort of things. Yeah, I mean, I think there were like a whole bunch, and sort of the ones that sort of stayed the longest were us and the Reptiles, and apart from that, the rest of them didn't stick around too long. But I was looking through it the other day, and I think that the next wave, which I'm particularly proud of, is that we had some small influence over them, like people that you sort of grew up with, which was the Nude Girls, and Theo, that's why Theo produced his first production job was actually us in '98 on our last album. He did 2 new tracks for us there on that particular thing, and Sugar Drive, and obviously Wonderboom. I think they're still fantastic today. There's a whole bunch of bands that I really am enjoying these days as well. Bands like Medicine Boy, Apocalypse Later, Polar Dust, Black Harbor. And I think Sito's solo stuff is really nice as well. Incantante, all of that sort of stuff. It's really good. It's nice to be able to actually gig and play with these guys when we do it, being 30 years later and then playing these gigs at the places like the Radium and back in the day, Good Luck Club and a variety of things. We do it too little, actually.
Yeah, you do it too little. It's great having Ashton Knight and having him on a couple of shows a couple of years ago. And of course, yes, you play with so many of those bands now. Obviously, not as much as you would like to because of the guys being overseas. But it's great to have Andrew and Rusty around to keep on keeping on with MOMO. Julian asking if you remember a band called Suburbia.
I do vaguely remember that. Yes, yeah, I do. And there were some really cool bands out at the time. It's like there was a really great compilation called In From the Cold, which you should get your hands on as well. Somewhere it was that album. And just on that, there were like The Gathering, The Next, The Bad, Shake Baby, Us. So yeah, I mean, if you look around, especially on Mark Vass's page, you'll find all of those guys' music and stuff as well.
Yeah, Mark Vass has posted a lot of great stuff. And Adrian brought out that Le Club album, which has No Friends on it, as well as the Nude Girls, a bunch of really great tracks too. So try and get your hands on those compilations, and let's just keep on supporting South African music, goth,
absolutely,
rock. Go and grab Rob's new album. MOMO is called Dark City. That first song we played you was called Carry On. We're going to play the brand new one from that album up next. Before that, got a message in from Lee saying the Robster, yay, and Gavin saying please keep making music. I'm sure that's the plan. Before you go, Rob, one last bit of advice that you can give to up-and-coming bands, young musicians out there. So obviously, you've stood the test of time. You have longevity for days. I know that tequila is one of the medicines that has made that possible. Look at me, I'm 90.
I'm 23.
What bit of advice can you offer up and coming young musos out there right now?
I'm not sure anyone should take advice from me, but I think like experience has told me that most things in life, if you're going to do something which is creative, try not to compromise ever on what you're doing. Go with your gut, and rather go with the hard route than something that feels easier to do, because you'll be rewarded far more at the end of it, because the most creative things are always hard to do and get to, if you're always doubting yourself, it's actually a really good sign, because it means you're pushing yourself to get better. So that's the only advice I can give.
Well, that's great advice, and thank you so much for it. Thank you so much for sharing a bit of your life and your journey with us today. We really appreciate it, and it was just brilliant having you on and hearing all of those stories, and hearing from Ian a little earlier on, and checking out that amazing old footage too. This episode will be on DiscovrTV South Africa, so please share it with friends that are fans of No Friends of Harry, if they may have missed it. And you can also just comment if you'd like to send Ian, Dave, or Rob some greetings and some love. Got a message in from the Illustrated saying, "Thanks, Rob, for everything over the years. Life would not have been the same without your music. Keep on rocking in the free world." What a great message.
Thank you very much.
Rob, lots of love to you. I appreciate and respect you in every way. And I hope we can do this again sometime. And I hope that I can DJ and MC another gig on a stage at some point, because seriously, please, can we get out of isolation, drink some Anvil beer, and rock out together very, very soon.
I can't wait, and obviously have to do a massive shout out to you for what you're doing for the industry, and for everyone, and giving them this platform to be able to do it, and bringing musicians together and creating this community. It's been it's massively important to anyone who's in this particular industry. So it's fantastic to have your support.
That means the world. Thank you so much, Rob. Long live No Friends of Harry, Doris, and Momo. And here's Ian to say goodbye as well.
Hello. Yes, guys.
You say yes, and I say no. You say hello, and I say goodbye. I'm starting to sing the Beatles. This has been way too long.